Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. With this particular reading in Matthew's Gospel, which was appointed for this particular Sunday here in the season of Pentecost, we need to do a little bit of setting the stage, maybe is one way to describe it. First, this is the beginning of the third discourse in Matthew's Gospel. We should recall that there are 5 discourses that are interspersed along the way as we hear the Gospel of Matthew unfold during this year. The first discourse is the best known, of course, which is the Sermon on the Mount. Then a couple of weeks ago, we heard the missionary discourse, Jesus calling his followers and then some, and sending them out to heal and teach and do all the things that Jesus had been doing, but that he then began to share with his followers and others who would heed the word. Today, in this third discourse, clearly we heard about a parable. And I must confess that I have sinned, Father, because the gospel reading assigned on our Revised Common Lectionary left out, or does not include, verses 10 through 17. You just heard Matthew chapter 13, verses 1 through 23. But those verses 10 to 17, they're important words to hear. Very important words to hear. At the beginning, when Jesus is sitting there in the boat and all that huge crowd is on the beach in front of him, he tells a watered down, the simplified story of that particular parable of the sower. Then the disciples come and ask that question: why do you speak in parables? And we hear some words that are pretty strong and perhaps might have us a bit concerned about the message we're receiving. Some people will get great rewards and be given wonderful abundance, but others who don't get it will not only have what little they might possess taken away, they'll have everything taken away. Now, I suppose, given the context in which Matthew's Gospel was written, we could understand that because of the tensions between the Jewish Christian followers of Jesus and their Jewish brothers and sisters who were not inclined to buy into Jesus being the Messiah, that there were great tensions. And there was lots of conversation and debate about who was in and who was out, who was part of the elect and who were those who were not elected to share the rewards of God's bounty through his Son, Jesus Christ. Now, parables are wonderful literary devices, literary things. And there was a towering 20th century Bible scholar and theologian by the name of C.H. Dodd, Charles Harold Dodd. He was British and wrote a very, very highly regarded book on parables. And he made several really nifty observations about them. Dodd would point out that parables are designed to tease our minds into active thought. Parables should help create a new knowledge for us. And they should help us and encourage us to view things in a different way, perhaps even inverting the conventional wisdom. Now, I mentioned Dodd. because I just think those words that he wrote down about parables are worth hearing today. There's another terrific biblical scholar who is still with us, although she retired from her teaching a few years ago. Her name is Phyllis Tribble. And Phyllis kind of hit the scene in the 1980s with a book called Texts of Terror. Texts of Terror was primarily focused on some female figures in the Old Testament who suffered greatly at the hands of men who were in positions of power. And some of the things that took place, death, rape, were really pretty onerous things. Now, Tribble, with that focus on Old Testament figures, female figures, was also a feminist theologian at a time when feminism was really starting to take root, thinking of the parable of the sower. And I dare say that Phyllis Tribble today might very well be inclined to look at some of the folks whose names we say under the banner of Black Lives Matter, that maybe there is a text of terror taking place in that sort of instance. Now, I'm actually thinking about a different text of terror right now that's just taking place around us and has been for the last few months, weeks and months. And that is Christian priests who are calling their flocks into their churches with no face masks, with no safety and concern for others with them. There even are priests who are saying, sure, hug one another, let's celebrate Jesus' joy. Now, this seems like a real text of terror being perpetrated on Christians, on followers of Jesus, by their very priestly leaders. And as we think about the parable of the sower, it seems to me we're probably pointed towards wanting to be insiders, right? And be that good soil that's going to increase 100-fold. That's the place we really want to be. We don't want to be those seeds that get thrown on the path that get gobbled up by the devil. We don't want to be the seed that's on that parched land that just has no ability to stick with the Word of God and be a follower of Jesus, nor the seeds that end up in the thorns, where the distractions of this world keep people from following Jesus. What about flipping that? Yes, we want to aspire, we want to be in that good earth and be faithful followers of Jesus. But aren't we really called to go out and help those who are having a much harder time following God and His Son Jesus? Not just saying those people are out, they're not the elect, it's only us people in the good soil. That's not the case at all as we're followers of Jesus. Jesus wants us to go out there and help those who need a helping hand, need some love and mercy and justice in order to navigate their way along in this world and get out from under texts of terror and people who would not look after the safety and well-being of their neighbor. Loving God and loving our neighbors, the two foundational commandments. And so, may we jump into this third discourse of Matthew's, looking to, yes, indeed, cultivate our faith, cultivate our journeys as followers of Jesus, but also be summoned to go out and help those who are having a more challenging time along the way. Amen.